Boom. Okay, just gonna hit record. No scripting, just you and me having a conversation. Have you seen this vintage text effect? It's kind of like a halation, bloom, glowy, jittery thing. And I've seen it in a few thumbnails. I've used it recently in a few thumbnails and in a few different videos. I wanted to show you how to create this effect in Final Cut Pro. Now this video is completely inspired by a video I saw from Aaron World. He shows you how he creates this effect for his videos in DaVinci Resolve. And it was a really cool video, and I just wanted to essentially do what he did, but in Final Cut Pro. So shout out, thank you for making that video. Now there are probably easier ways to do this. There's probably text templates out there that already exist. I'm not using any third-party stuff. This is just all effects that come inside Final Cut Pro, so you can do this for free. I'm also gonna include my effect presets in the description below, and you can just download them. And at the end of this video, I'll show you where to put them. That way, if you don't wanna follow along, which you should, because there's a lot of like micro adjustments, and let's say you change the color and you want to change the grain, it's really good to know how to do that. So you should follow along, but you can drag and drop these straight into the folder and then you'll just have them. So let's go ahead and jump into it. First thing I'm going to do is go to text and let's just search for custom. Drag this down here. 4 seconds is fine. Now we can hide that. And for the text, let's switch this to bold. We'll type vintage text effect. Again, I'm going to follow the same process that he used, so you might see some crossover here. So let's just go ahead and make this whole thing bigger. Then we'll select effect. Make that about the same size. Let's select them all and tighten the line spacing and the tracking. Looks pretty good. Let's make effect just a tad bigger. Cool. So there's our text right there. To start out, I'm going to make a white version, and that's because the color version you just take off 2 of the effects. So let's go ahead and change this color, kind of like a cream. That looks good. Just an off-white. We'll add some blur. 2 is probably good. Might want to do 1.5. Basically, you just want to smooth out the edges. It's okay if it looks a little blurry here. Okay, so that is our text right there. First thing we're going to do is go down to light and let's add the aura plugin. Now this one is mainly used for that halation effect, and you can actually click here and rename this to halation. So we're going to turn this all the way off. 10 is fine. Let's change the brightness to 40, and we're going to turn tint on, and let's change this to red. Now you might not really be noticing it yet, but once we start adding the blur and the neon and things like that, you're really going to see it. So I'm going to zoom in. I'll just turn it off. You can see how the color kind of shifts a little bit, right? So again, this is just a very subtle. You can always turn things up if you need to. Next effect I'm going to add is called neon. I'm just going to search for it. And let's go ahead and add this. And we're going to make some pretty big changes here because obviously it's like blown out right now. So let's just change this to 1. I'm going to amp this up to 50. We'll leave inner brightness on 2. Inner glow, let's lower that to 2. Let's turn the edge intensity all the way down. And there we go. Now we're getting somewhere here. The next one is actually called Prism. And this is kind of like a chromatic aberration effect. It's like a 3D effect. Actually rename this to 3D effect. And little goes a long way here. So I'm just going to dial that down to 6. You can kind of see you're getting that like 3D motion here. It's pretty cool. So again, little goes a long way. You can always change things and amp them up or back them down if you need to. It's also good to note that you can change the direction of this effect. So if we shift this to 270 degrees. Now you can see everything's kind of pushing down. So you got options there. Again, this is why I said you should follow along with the process. Next one is in our blurs. We're going to use a couple different blurs. This first one is a Radical blur. Whoa, it's radical, dude. All right, let's dial this down. Again, a little goes a long way, maybe even a little less. Let's turn it off. Turn it on. So, I mean, up to you. If you want it to be like super wide and cinematic, you can do that. Let's leave it at 3. 3 looks good. Let's add another effect, the zoom effect. Uniform. Let's lower this to 10, and we're going to turn up the swirl. You can see, look at the edges. See how it like pulls them apart? So it's almost like a radical blur, but again, more control here. Let's just over exaggerate so you can really see it. And bring it back down. So up to you as far as you want to take that. So already getting somewhere here. Look at this effect. You know, if we turn these off, yeah, pretty rad. Next thing we're looking for is noise. Now, Final Cut does some weird things. I've tried to add grain and other ways of doing this. Adding the noise effect seems to work the best. And once you add the noise, you're going to want to set this to grain. I like to turn on monochrome, change this to an overlay. I found that looks the best. For the amount, 0.4 and 75% opacity. And let's just zoom in. I'll turn that on and off. So just gives it a little texture. That's all we're doing here. You can, again, play with that, amp it up, back it down, totally up to you. That's pretty much the style of the text. You can change this text to be whatever you want, but these are the effects. Now, the last thing to do is to give it that little jitter motion. I've tried handheld, doesn't seem to work that great. It kind of moves. Earthquake is cool, but Earthquake moves it this direction, and you kind of want that like random jitter amount. So what I do is add an effect called aged film. And again, you can use this to your advantage if you like the color or the different effects this effect has in it. In here, I change the amount to 8, so super low. I don't mess with the color. I turn the grain off, turn the scratches off. The jitter, I turn all the way up, and the variance, 0.05. And you have random down here. Again, a lot of different options you can do, but this is the best way I found to get that little jitter motion. So let's play back. Pretty rad. So you're getting that little. So that's it. That's the idea behind this whole vintage effect. You could play with these parameters, change them to however you want, add more grain, add more 3D effect or halation, and that's the general idea behind it. Now, if we turn off the halation, you can see how much of a difference that really makes, or the aura, if you will. And if we turn it back on, really sells that vintage vibe. To do the color version, let's just duplicate this. I'm going to get rid of that bottom layer. We're going to turn off the halation, turn off the 3D effect, and then all you're going to do is go to your text and change the color. So let's just change this to something like red. Back it down a little bit, and there we go. Kind of gives you that same effect. And if you want less blur, you can go 0.5, make it a little sharper. If you want more noise, it's as easy as going in here, turning up the opacity, maybe a little bit more noise. And that's the effect. So once you've created this, you can actually just click Save Effect Preset right here. And you can name it and save it however you want. If you're saving the color one, make sure you turn off the halation and 3D effect or the aura or prism. And that's exactly what I've done. So if I go to my personal presets, you can see I have 2 here. I have vintage text color and vintage text effect white. Another quick thing I want to mention here is you can do some cool stuff with using the negative effect plugin. I actually do this a lot on my intros. Let's just add another one of these layers and drag the negative onto this. Let's shorten it to just like 1 frame. You can get some cool little flashes and glows. I do this a lot in my intro. It's just like flipping the colors on things. So that's it. That's the vintage text effect and how I recreated it in Final Cut Pro. If you have any questions, leave them below. If there's a better way to do this, let me know below. Educate me, because maybe there's a much easier way. So that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. Thanks again, Aaron World, for making that cool video. and we'll see you in the next one. We out. I actually forgot to show you how to add these effect presets to your folder, so let's do that real fast. In your effect window, you can click on any of these and just right-click and reveal in Finder. That's going to show you a folder of where you can add custom effects. So if you didn't save it as an effect preset and you're just using the ones that I created, you can download them and just drag them into that effect preset folder. Once you do that, they will just show up in your custom effects. So it's that easy. All right, now I'm out of here.